What's up, YouTube and Gen X? What about the black men and women that have made it out of the ghetto? Okay, what about them? They always get written off. I'm not talking about the people that, are athletes or people that are famous because they're a model or they're an actor or they're a music or hip-hop artist. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the black men and women that have used academics and or hard work, where you're working and you're saving and you're making smart financial moves, you're saving your money, and they slowly climbed out of the ghetto. So they went from the ghetto to a okay area, to a whatever area, to a decent area, to an okay area, to a good area, to a great area. I'm talking about that sort of slow movement, right? The people that weren't trying to win big overnight. What about those people? They always get written off. My problem with the black defenders um, is that the black defenders will come through and they'll paint the black community as this place, or they'll paint the ghetto as this place where there's black people who can't help themselves. So what they do in terms of crime and bad behavior has little to do with personal choice, but more so to do with the world that white people have created. Even when they do try to touch on accountability, it's not enough. Because even when they do the whole accountability, they'll say, but still, it's more so about the world that, the powers that be created. And you're looking and you're like, well, how come you've never talked to the people that have made it? See, my problem with them, the black defenders, is that they'll act like black people from the ghetto that have made it only made it because they've won a golden ticket. So they're the lucky few that got chosen by whoever to make it out and have a better life. And it really had nothing to do with them. See, the black defenders take away personal choice, or they'll make personal choice so irrelevant that it doesn't even matter if you do make a good choice, because it's just going to be outweighed by the world you were born into, which to me is bullshit. And I say bullshit because most people that are doing well crossed over. I know Willie Peace made this point. I made this point a long time ago. People are crossing over. We're not like white people where we have 2 or 3 or 4 generations that were born into a middle class or upper class sort of environment. People are crossing over, even in my family, right? Technically speaking, my little sister can say that she's been born into a middle class sort of environment, but we weren't there yet when I was born, or when my brother or sister was born. We weren't there yet, right? I don't even know if my kids are going to at least be born into that sort of standardized middle class sort of lifestyle. Hopefully, but it's not as easy. So I'm not saying that we grew up in the ghetto, but what I'm trying to say is that we're not too far removed from the ghetto. So you have people that are still making it out. Just like you have the ball player or the hip-hop artist that can drive through his old community and say, yeah, I used to live in this housing project. I used to live in Cabrini Green, right? Or, any other of the more notable projects in America. Um, you have your doctor or your lawyer or your accountant or your teacher or your nurse or, whoever, right? Your personal trainer that can come through and say, yeah, this is where I used to stay as well. It was me and my cousins and my brothers, and we all shared this little 2-bedroom little apartment with only 1 bathroom. Multiple people have that same story. Not even multiple, but thousands of black men and women have that story that gets overlooked, and people want to act like they're exceptions to the rule, right? Um, my problem with the black defenders, once again, is that they enable the bad behavior that takes place in the ghetto because they're saying that they can't help themselves. So it's almost like a green light to do wrong because they know that they can blame it on somebody else. So if a black man goes to jail, is it about what he did wrong and about him making a poor choice because he had the power of choice, or it's because of the world that white people created, or if Keisha gets pregnant or whatever, right? They're going to blame it on somebody else, so it's almost just like, hey, I can do what I want to do because it's not my fault anyways, right? Um, and you look at that and it's like you're reinforcing that by saying that the black community or the ghetto is nothing more than a collection of handicapped black people that can't do anything unless white people change first. We are incompetent. We can't do shit for ourselves, right? There's nothing we can do. This is why we turn to crime. We know we have no other means of getting ourselves out or supporting ourselves. It's that piss poor, right? It's almost like a baby that can't even hold its head up straight, right? Like a newborn infant. That's what the black defenders try to do, and it's disrespectful to the black men and women who've made it out. This whole idea of, yeah, we only made it out because we were lucky enough to have white people hand pick us. They gave us the golden ticket to get out of the situation. It's like, no, we had personal choice. As bad as it was, we had personal choice. This is why they never get brought into the equation. The black men and women that have made it out, they never get brought into the equation because you know what they're going to tell you. They're going to tell you that it's pretty bad. And we do need help, and there's a lot of bullshit that goes on, especially when it comes to crime and unfair treatment and how you're guilty just because you're black. They'll come on. Like I said, I have friends that are very close to me. Friends that have stayed in my house. Friends that have hugged my mother who come from this sort of environment that will talk about how bad it is and the shit that they have to face, being chased home from school and whatnot. But then they'll tell you that there's still personal choice. That it's bad, but it's not as bad as people want you to make it seem. There's trouble, but oftentimes you have to go find trouble, right? And they'll say, if you get your shit together, you can be okay. And the people that fall off tend to fall off because of personal choice, not because they didn't know better, not because they felt they didn't have an alternative, but they just made a poor choice because they felt like it was an excuse. They felt like they had an excuse. Or they felt like doing something would be acting white, or they would be selling out, or they wouldn't be seen as cool. Right? See, the way the black defenders put it, black people born in the ghetto. I'm not going to say ghetto black people, excuse me. Black people born in the ghetto and black people who are living in the ghetto were born into a world where it's already the fourth quarter, they're down by 50, and there's only 5 minutes left in the game. So there's nothing they can do apart from taking out a gun, holding it up to the scorekeeper and saying, hey, you need to add 60 points to our total so we can win the game. Or just quit and, give in, right, and forfeit the game. That's how the black defenders want you to think of it. But the people that are actually from that environment will tell you, yeah, it's pretty bad. But it's more so like you're being born into a game where you're down by 20 and it's halftime. So the odds of you winning the game are low. But if you play hard, you run your offense, you play good defense, you hustle, you can make up that deficit. You can close that gap and potentially win the game. No one's saying that you're going to blow them out, but you may win by 5, maybe 7 or 2, or you can even force overtime. So you can extend the game, right? You can force 1 overtime, 2 overtime, 3 overtimes, and eventually win the game, right? This is what they're going to tell you, which isn't as appealing as, oh, the ghetto is nothing more than a handicapped black people who can't help themselves. It's not as appealing, and it holds everybody accountable. See, it holds the powers that be. It holds white America accountable, or the people that need to be accountable. They're held accountable in regards to poor policy and unfair or discriminatory practices when it comes to the legal system or education or employment opportunities. Right? It holds them accountable. But then at the same time, it holds black people accountable and saying, hey, you have personal choice, but you're opting not to make the right choice because you want to keep it cool. You're trying to impress him. You're trying to impress her. Or you want the quick money. You want the fast money. Or you don't want to do the whole daily routine, the whole responsibility of getting up and doing the same thing Monday through Friday, or possibly even, Friday through Saturday, right? Depending on where you're working and, how they get down. But you had that choice, but you didn't take it. That's why most black people that have made it out of that sort of ghetto environment will tell you, I bet that each of those people have at least 10 examples of 10 people that they've known that could have did exactly what they did, but they opted not to. They opted not to. They want to go a different route, right? So it's not about Keisha not knowing that it's okay to not be pregnant at 17. It's Keisha deciding to be pregnant, right? Or Jamal selling drugs or whatnot because he didn't know he couldn't do anything else, that he could have done something else. No, he knew, right? He knew. That's what it comes down to, right? So it's equal accountability. This whole idea of, let me just hold white America accountable, it's not going to happen that way. And to completely throw out the black men and women that have made it from that sort of environment as if they don't exist or as if they won some lucky golden ticket, it's damn near disrespectful, right? It's disrespectful, and you're not doing the black community any justice by painting them as some sort of incompetent, handicapped sort of infant. You're not, right? But the second black people say we need to, wake up, start to mobilize, stop the bullshit, right? Stop the excuses. Then you're going to get somewhere. Going back to what Willie P. said before about black people being more on point back in the day when they're closer to slavery and the civil rights movement and whatnot, they're more on point. So it was clear that it's white people fucking up because black people are on point. You got young black men, on some, I'm suited and booted, right? I got my hair done properly. I'm looking to be productive. As opposed to now where you're, screaming about white people and you got dudes sagging their pants, braids everywhere. You got women pushing a stroller at 2 in the afternoon, still in their PJs and whatnot, and the rollers on it. You see it all the time, and it's just like, how are you going to complain about other people when your shit's not together? Right? If you're that helpless. Right? So, I mean, you care, but you can only care so much. You can only care so much because you know that we have more power than we want to act like we do. Right? That's the problem. And for every black person that's made it out of the ghetto, right, it's like they're a walking contradiction to what the black defenders are trying to put out there. And you can sit there and act like they don't exist, but they're there. They're there, right? So that's my video. Y'all take it easy. God bless.